Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So my question is, and please make sure you chime in the comments, right? Why do these commentators continue to say that Eastern European boxers are better than American boxers? You know, I really don't understand that. First person who I heard say that, right? Now, we're not talking about some of these Eastern European monsters that have surfaced, okay? There are some. They exist. But to make a statement that the Eastern European boxers are better than American boxers, I'm not saying that statement is devoid of truth. What I'm saying is I'm totally ignorant to the Eastern European amateur circuit. I'm totally ignorant to an abundance of Eastern European fighters who are just totally outclassing all American fighters in the weight division. Now, there are some, but to just make a broad brush statement that Eastern European boxers are better than American boxers, man, that's a little bullish, okay? Now, the first person who I heard make a statement like that was Paulie Malinaggi, okay? And he got a lot of flack for that because a lot of people were saying, and they still say to this day that they feel that Paulie Malinaggi is a racist, okay? I don't have an opinion on that. But what I think hurt Paulie Malinaggi was him being part of certain Facebook groups and him, with his position and his platform, commenting on certain things that were happening in high-profile situations between cops and some African Americans, okay? And Paulie Malinaggi is a guy who just, till this day, hasn't learned to shut his mouth. So the other day I was watching the Pro Box podcast, and he made the statement again. And he was saying in there that, he was saying that everybody labeled him a racist for making that comment. And he was like, what he was saying is, look at guys like the bully, the one that what's his name? He knocked him out, man. I think it was the second round. He's like our favorite fighter out there, man. He's Puerto Rican from Philly. He'll fight anybody. Man, I'm seeing his face, all them tattoos, and I can't call his name. But man, what is his name, man? I'm seeing his face right here. But anyway, he knocked the guy out, okay? Just totally clipped him. Man, I'm about to go crazy because I know the damn guy's name, and I'm sitting here and can't think of his name, man. It's driving me crazy, man. I hate when that happens, you know. What is that guy's name, man? Definitely not no damn Danny Garcia. What is his name, man? From Philly, man. Damn, man, I'm sitting here going crazy right now. I'm seeing his name, man. I'm seeing him. Not no damn Edgar Berlanga, man. You guys are probably shouting at the screen right now that I don't know the damn guy's name and probably discrediting me, man. Peter. That's not the damn Peter, man. What is that guy's name, man? Anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone. It's gonna come to me. I just can't believe I can't call his name. Rosado, Gabe Rosado. There it goes. See, just take a little mind for the brain to work. I didn't even pull it up. I was trying to pull up the Gabe Rosado fight when he fought the guy, the bully, man, and he knocked him out in the second round. This was pulling up Puerto Rican bully, kennel clubs, all kind of craziness. It wasn't even pulling up the damn name, which is sad. But anyway, so he was talking about that guy, the bully, who got knocked out in the second round by Gabe Rosado. He was talking about Adamek, and we have Bertabiev, who's proven that he's a problem, right? But he didn't really have many other names, Derevianchenko, and talking about how good of a fighter he is. And there's no argument that those guys can fight. But I just don't think his statement was tenable. Like, I don't think he's like Paulie Malinaggi couldn't argue and defend that statement, because if you look at in the weight divisions, right, as far as the heavyweights, he was talking about Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is not an Eastern European. Okay? Klitschko, those guys are gone. It's over. So you got Hellenius. I don't know where exactly he's from. I think France or Sweden or something. But I'm not sure if that's Eastern European. It may be, but I'm not sure. But top guys right now, you still have Wilder. You got a lot of Americans in the heavyweight division. And you have some European fighters. Then Ukraine, you got Usyk. So you kind of see that. But still, there's a lot of great heavyweight fighters as well. You go to light heavyweight, you got Beterbiev, you got Bivol, and who else you got there at light heavyweight? You got Zurdo, who's Mexican. So you kind of see that when you drop down below those guys, you start getting into, we just totally skipped cruiserweight. But once you start peeling the layers back, getting down to super middleweight, they have some Eastern Europeans in those divisions. But when you look at it holistically, I'm not sure that that's a fair statement from Paulie Malinaggi. Now, when you look at what was going on, back to like 2014 era, you had like Thomas Adamek, who was making noise. You had Vyacheslav Glaskov, who was making noise. You had Alexander Povetkin, who recently retired, but he was making noise for a long time. He was a problem in the heavyweight division for a long time. Kubrat Pulev, who's still out here plugging along, still doing pretty good. But like his better days are behind him, but he's still out there plugging along. Marco Huck, you had that big Russian, I can't remember his name, David Hay fought him, man. Big Russian. Seems like my brain's all over the place tonight. Before that, you had, Evgeny Gradovich. Some of you guys probably remember these names. Then we should all know Ruslan Providnikov. That guy was a monster. But not sure that he was really better than many of the fighters at welterweight. But he was definitely a problem. Definitely a problem. Sergey Kovalev, he's still plugging along. Pretty sure his better days are behind him. Gennady Golovkin, he's a solid fighter. And he's going to go down best known for the fights that he wasn't able to make because a lot of people just didn't want to fight him. And then, the Klitschko brothers. So when you think of those names, and during that period where all these guys were active, right, back 2014, 2015, there was an emergence of the Eastern European fighter. There were so many in all weight divisions getting busy. But it's not quite like that now. But there are still some. We all know about the Lomachenkos. Lomachenko and Usyk are probably the two biggest names. Bertabiev is right up there right now. Bivol is right up there right now as a result of the fight with Canelo. But I think with Lomachenko is, he can fight, he can. But he was a two-time gold medalist. And I think that is something else people really give him a lot of credit for. But so is Rigondeaux, so is Clarissa Shields. And also, there's another Cuban fighter who was a two-time gold medalist, Robesai Ramirez. He just recently fought and knocked somebody out. So the Cuban fighters, if we're going to say, when you look at the amateur program, look at their success in the amateur programs and these guys when they transition to professionals, I mean, I don't know, man. I would almost want to say that maybe the Cuban fighters, maybe better if we're talking about skill and technique. And if we're talking about just overall, just, when I say toughness, right? I mean, it just depends on the fighter. But I would say definitely that a lot of the Mexican fighters, they come to fight. And, you know, doesn't matter the skill level. You're going to know you're in a fight. But then again, a lot of those European fighters, they're not there to take a lot of damage, but they can take shots. But then you got to look at the Asian fighters. And when I talk about Asian fighters, I'm talking about being tough. Whether from China, Japan. Look what the Japanese fighters are doing right now. You know, you've got a serious problem coming out of Asia, especially Japan. Right now, you got a serious problem. And yeah, they're in the lighter weight divisions, except for you got big Jalil Zhang, who's a heavyweight. But, you know, you really don't. And then, matter of fact, if you really want to go that route, Baval, I think his mother is Korean. But, you know, I believe he was born and raised in Russia. But it depends. He qualifies to be identified as an Asian, you know, so I just don't think Paulie is, I just don't think Paulie really is, you know, he's a smart guy and he knows boxing. But I don't know if he's really looking at it from the perspective of all the guys in the weight division, or he's just looking at maybe who's at the top. But remember, man, everyone's just one fight away from either winning the big fight or losing the big fight. And I think when you got guys like Charlo, Benavidez, Shakur Stevenson, you know, you got Tank Davis, you got the guys at the heavyweight, you know, you still got, you know, Andy Ruiz, you still got Deontay Wilder. You know, we still have some guys up there, but in some aspects you can almost see what Paulie's saying, but in other aspects, you know, not quite. Now, if he just said European fighters, then you can start throwing in the guys from England, from France, and those places. But, you know, he said the Eastern European. And there was a time where, like I said, back when that 2014, 2015 time frame, but right now, I don't really think it's like that, man. You got a couple of guys who's making some noise, but I mean, I just don't really think it's like that. I really don't. But, you know, he's adamant about it. But I will tell you, there's one fighter out there. Now, remember, they can all fight. They can all fight. But there's one fighter, right? Derevianchenko. Out of all these guys we're talking about, he's the guy, to me, who has proven himself to be a serious problem for anyone. Some can say he had a couple of decisions that didn't go his way that should have gone his way. But he is someone, man, who is an amazing, amazing fighter. Amazing fighter. But when he got in there, so when he got in there with Jacobs, it wasn't easy for Jacobs. When he got in there with Triple G, both of them were Eastern European. Some say Triple G lost that fight. But when he got in there with Charlo, you know, it still was a hard fight for Charlo, but, you know, Charlo did what he had to do. But I'm not sure, man. And if we're looking at amateur programs, you know, they have very, very good amateur programs across all of the European circuit, especially the Eastern European and also that Cuban circuit, even the Asian circuits, man. You know, a lot of these kids who show promise are put in special schools where their whole thing is, you know, academics, but boxing. Like they're groomed to represent their country in boxing. It's just like if they're excellent, you know, runners or gymnasts or whatever, and they show that promise from small, the governments get behind them and they start grooming them to represent the country. Now in America, you really, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you, because I don't talk about things I don't know about, but I honestly don't know if that happens here. I don't think so. You know, I think it could kind of happen in a way where you have some youths who are really excelling, and they start to get recognized, and they could get scouted to maybe go on now and bubble up and compete in more competitive type matches. From we're talking about track, gymnastics, basketball, whether it's weightlifting, whatever, soccer, whatever, man. And as they keep bubbling up, you know, the cream rises to the top, then eventually they could get selected to go on to do other things. And in that sense, that's kind of a process of kind of selecting those who have promise to maybe go on and kind of end up in a situation where they can represent the United States in a specific area. But I don't think that I'm not aware of anything being structured like that to where you have this pool and they can start siphoning out those talents, you know. But I'm not sure. But I'm just not when it comes to, you know, this guy talking about these boxers. I mean, why are we even talking about Klitschko anymore? You know, it's him and his brother, man. Yeah, those guys are out of here. But we shouldn't be talking about him. We shouldn't be talking about Ruslan Providnikov. And really, man, the bully who gave Rosalo clipped, he's still a good fighter. But I mean, I'm not sure what we're talking about. But if we're going to talk about Bertabiev, we're going to talk about Bivol. You know, I can understand that. But at heavyweight, Eastern European at heavyweight, I mean, you know, I'm not sure. Usyk, but I guess we could. I don't know if even if Poland considered Eastern Europe, but maybe Konaki. You know, so I don't know, man. I just think there's so many other names in boxing that these guys are, I'm gonna say, just as good or better than. They just need to get those shots. And at light heavyweight, first they got to be in the weight division too, man. But at light heavyweight, to be honest with you, you got to give credit where credit's due, man. Bertabiev has shown that he's all right. But Bivol, I think, beats Bertabiev. And at light heavyweight, I think if David Benavidez was to go up, I think David Benavidez would beat both of them. You know, personally. But again, you know, where we're standing right now, as far as in weight divisions, if that's the argument, for certain weight division, I can see it. But you can't just come, like, again, with that broad brush statement and just say the Eastern Europeans are dominating every weight division. Like, that's just not what's happening, you know? So, I don't know, man. I just wanted to touch on that. And even with Triple G still plugging along, you know, he's getting ready to come back. And he's about to unify 168. I honestly think Triple G is going to beat Canelo. Before, I didn't think Triple G was going to beat Canelo. I felt that Canelo would clip him, but how Canelo looked, because Canelo can't react if you're pressing him. You know, he can't fight going backwards. When you throw punches and combinations at him, he can't fight going backwards. Okay, but then again, Triple G has slowed. But if Triple G can get his shots off, get Canelo on the back foot, Canelo will probably lose that fight. Because we know Triple G has a chin made out of iron. Now, if Triple G clips Canelo at 168 and then Charlo gets a shot at him or Benavidez gets a shot at him, I give them a good chance to stop Gennady. Because this Gennady is not the same. But I think he has enough what it takes to beat Canelo. Because Canelo's out here trying to have the high guard and walk people down. And that didn't work for him against Triple G, in my opinion, in that first fight or second fight. I think they robbed Triple G of a victory by making it a draw in the first fight. And that second fight, I think Triple G beat him. I don't care that he was coming forward, man. I did another video. I was watching that fight with several people. And all of them were going for Canelo. It was like 14, 15 of us. I was the only one in there that's non-biased, but I was, as of watching every round, I was like, yo, Triple G is winning. And by the fourth or fifth round, they were saying the same thing, like Canelo has to do something. So, I don't know, man. I honestly don't know, man. I'm just trying to make sense of what the hell what's his name, Paulie Malinaggi and some of these other commentators. I think a lot of them are just bandwagoners too, because right now you just have Bivol come out there and do something pretty impressive against Canelo. Now you have Bertabiev out here doing pretty impressive stuff, and Lomachenko's maybe returning to the sport. Usyk's about to come back out here and hopefully, for him, I'm not saying for me, but for him, retain those belts. But I have a feeling Joshua's going to beat him. But we'll see, man, we'll see. But during those years of the Cold War, man, fighters from Eastern Europe, they dominated the amateur scene. Just like I think right now we can say like the Cubans are dominating the amateur scene. But since the fall of the Iron Curtains, fighters from that region, man, they just gradually like become fixtures in the professional ranks. But I wouldn't say they've just taken over the professional ranks like Paulie Malinaggi. But hey, we can create a list, man, of a lot of boxers from transcontinental countries that straddle those kind of Eurasian land masses. So we've talked about some of those names, and some of those guys, like I said, are technically like Asian. So it is what it is. But I'll leave it as that, man. Just not these guys on there. Even when you guys remember Vasily Jirov, he was making some noise, right? And then he got in there with James Toney. James Toney knocked him out with a body shot. You remember that? So I just think that the American style is probably the best suited style to break down that European style, because that European style is pretty complicated, because the way they fight and everything, they're always in position to defend and to get their offense off. And you look at a guy like the Klitschko's, they were just like huge people. But the older brother being the better fighter of the two. But once they hooked up with what's his name, Emmanuel Stewart, right? He put a little American twist on their style and made them highly effective fighters. He did the same thing with Lennox Lewis and any of those fighters that came over there to him, man, especially the big guys. He just really stressed using their physical attributes and then their power to get guys out of there. And but always, kind of safety first, soften the guy up, and then close the show, because Emmanuel Stewart liked his knockout. So I'll leave it as that, man. Paulie Malinaggi is still out here, just really. It's one thing to talk about the European fighters and they're making noise, which they are. They are, and they're great fighters. But I still don't think that the best professional boxers right now are the Eastern Europeans. I don't think so. I think there are a lot of great Eastern European boxers. There's guys with belts. There's some guys who can definitely, reign for a while. But I think it's just a matter of other guys getting the opportunity to fight them, and then we'll see. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I partially agree with what Paulie's saying, but I just can't come out here, man, and put all my eggs in one basket in a statement like what he's been making about him. I don't think he's a racist for saying that. I think Paulie is looking at just that way from the Klitschko era and kind of where we are now. There's a lot of talent out there, and these guys are coming out and they're winning belts. And he's not necessarily off beam, but at the same time, I'm not really seeing it that way. But you guys let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know. Do you really think that the best boxers today are the Eastern European fighters? And don't just say because, Vasily Lomachenko because he has 2 gold medals. Clarissa Shields has 2 gold medals. She's unified several divisions. Rigondeaux has 2 gold medals. And this other Cuban fighter, whose name I just told you guys about, man, he has 2 gold medals as well. So if we're gonna go that route, man, I'm talking about Robinson Ramirez. If that's what we're looking at, then we got to give it to the Cubans. But anyway, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all the veterans. we'll see what else Paulie has to say, and I'll be here commenting on it. Y'all take care. Appreciate the support. As always, I'm in the breeze.